You're listening to Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoy on the market. First Light, the best hunting gear on the planet. Go farther, stay longer. And Ducklander Calls, tradition, education, and quality. Built to hunt.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Union 0430. This is episode 149, man. We got Matthew Hicks coming to us from Ohio. You know what, Matthew? I got to tell you, dude, in the last year, we've had more people from Ohio on this show. But so, and it's just ignorance on my part, being this dumb Canadian and not realizing the geography, but I didn't realize that Ohio was such a waterfowl state until, like after talking to the people that we've talked to. So we'll get into that. I had to get that out, but everybody, welcome Matthew Hicks. Listen, I know you know who he is, because Last Limit Calls. He's one of the owners of that, and his photography is what really grabbed me. And actually, it was by fluke that I found out that you were part owner in Last Limit Calls, because I knew you for your photography more than anything. So Matthew, buddy, what's that? Sorry,
Last Flight Calls.
What did I say?
Last Limit.
Oh, Last Limit. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Last Flight Calls.
That's
sorry. Thanks, man, for coming on the show.
Yeah, for sure. Glad to be here.
That's so what I was getting into, so like I don't know if you know these guys, but like Craig Mintz with Real Geese Decoys, he's in Ohio. And then Brian Ellithorpe, I don't know if you know him. He's sort of he's in Ohio. We had a company, I love that Trump flag in the back.
Real Geese.
Oh, wicked.
Real Geese.
Oh yeah, Real Geese. There you go. Yeah, got it.
We like Real Geese.
Yeah, I'm a big fan too. But then Brian Ellithorpe, who does some photography, and then we had a company, Mr. Lochner, come to us. I think he's in Columbus, but I'm not 100% sure. But Quack Attack Gloves. I don't know if you've heard about those guys.
I don't think I have.
Man, I'm going to tell you, they sent us each a pair of gloves for us to try late season last year. So it would have been around December last year on the Great Lakes here in Lake Ontario. And dude, I'm going to tell you, these gloves are legit. Like, they're legit.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, I'll get you their information once we're done the show. But anyways, again, man, thanks for coming on. Like I said, I've been a big fan. I've been following your photography for quite a while. So it's pretty cool. I tell people all the time, people will say to me like, man, the show is doing good and you got, and I'm like, yeah, the show's doing good. But what blows my mind is when I reach out to people, much like yourself, Matt, and I say, hey, listen, would you like to come on the show? And you're like, yeah. Absolutely. I'd love to come on. And it just blows my mind that people want to come on and just shoot the shit, and chat.
Yeah. I don't get asked very often, so.
Well, the funny part was, and for anybody that's listening, when I sent Matt the message to ask him to come on, he was like, yeah, man, I'll come on for sure. And I was like, I appreciate it. I know you're getting asked all the time and stuff like that. And you're like, actually, no, I don't get asked. If anything, people just ask me for my secrets. So I promised I wouldn't. I promised I wouldn't ask for your secrets. So here we are, dude.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I don't get many invites to podcast, but seems like a lot of the messages are just, hey, how are you doing that, or how are you doing this? And really, it's just time in the field. Figuring it out. I've taken a lot of pictures that turn out to nothing. You gotta, like I tell people all the time, like on my Instagram, there's a little over 700 pictures that I've posted.
Mm-hmm.
but I've taken upwards of 70,000 photos.
Right.
Think about how much is as a keeper basically and is going out there to the public. Not very many.
Yeah, that's right. Well, one of our buddies that comes on the show, Phil, he's somewhat of an amateur photographer as well, and
Yeah.
he's been with us, and he said, you know, in a day he's taken like 200 pictures, and there'd be like 3 that he's happy with.
Right. It's truly like a hit rate, basically, for good, really good stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But, you know, I wanted to ask you this, Matt, like with you're seeing, or I'm seeing, and maybe it's just because I'm just really noticing it now, but you would know, but the photography side of the waterfowl hunter, it seems to be growing more and more every day now. And it seems like, at least to me, that the photography is more about the adventure now as opposed to the pile pics. Like you're not seeing those pile pics anymore. Now you're seeing pictures of you know, fellas or ladies that are just in the field or with this amazing backdrop or whatever, right? It's more about the adventure than it is the pile pics. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think as time has went on in the digital age world, you know what I mean? The last, especially I just think the taste of what people want to see has changed some. And, you know, what's a pile pic? You can only look at so many. It's the same thing, right?
That's right.
You know, and there's so much more to the story than the last bit right at the end when you line them all up. You know what I mean?
That's right.
I mean, 2-3 hours that morning doing other things. You know what I'm saying? So I like to capture that. You know, for me, I just like to share it with others. For one, I like to do it, and I just like bringing it back and then putting it out there and showing others like the beauty of the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what you're seeing. Like you're seeing, like, and I keep bringing it up because, and no disrespect to your photos, but like I keep seeing these amazing pictures that Apex Ammunition puts out. Like it's amazing. And there's well, when turkey season was on, like you'd see the odd picture of a turkey, but normally it's just a dude with his gun with an amazing backdrop, and you know, like that old saying, right? A picture is worth 1,000 words. But like you can look at those pictures and you're just wondering, like, what brought them to that point? Like how much work was involved to get to where that picture was, where and when that picture was taken. And it blows my mind, really, because I'd never ever considered myself as somebody that would take notice of that, because I'm a bit dumb. I'm a big dumb dude. So I never ever thought that I would think like that. And now I find myself, I'm looking at the pictures, and it's just, there's so much more that I'm wondering when I look at the picture.
Yeah, I actually got to work with Apex last year.
Okay.
Sent them, you know, they sent me products and stuff to take pictures of. Sent them some pictures. So some of my pictures are on there. You know, for me, like one of my things was with the photography too, is like you said, what did it take to even get to that point? But also, I want people to be like, dude, I wish I was there when that picture was. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like this. Or like, dude, just ice covered and waves are crashing. Just something that's just like, dude, like that's pretty awesome. I wish I was there for that.
Well, and yeah, absolutely. And where you're located, like you're on Lake Erie, right?
No, we are West Central Ohio, so middle of the state, and then about 15 minutes from Indiana.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Again, my geography is coming. My geography knowledge is starting to show its case. But even still, like where you're located, within the flyway, and when you start getting into that late season hunting, like that's what you're talking about. Like you're in prime real estate to be capturing those moments where and let's face it, like duck and goose hunting isn't sunshine and rainbows and all of that stuff, right? And you're in a prime location to be getting those shots and creating those stories of, you know, just icicles from your beard and sideways rain, that kind of thing, right?
I think a lot of places have hidden beauties. Like, when we go down to a creek and in the middle of winter, it's just peaceful and beautiful down there. And you might shoot one greenhead, but there's so much you can do photography wise with all of that. It's funny, like, last year wasn't a very good year as
Right.
far as like having birds. The migration just wasn't there like it was, say, the previous year. Previous before that was great. But it's funny, like, I'll post pictures up. We'll shoot one bird. I'll post pictures up of the dog or a dude carrying and they're like, "Oh, dude, you're always killing the birds, and oh, it just looks awesome." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Did we kill one bird today?" Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
But people, the pictures, just they're like, "I wish I was there."
Absolutely. But and that goes, and that tells, it plays on what we were talking about, as though the picture, there's more to the story, right? So you see a dude with one bird.
Yeah.
And the imagination of the person that's looking at that picture, they're just imagining so much more, right?
Oh yeah, the wheels just start turning, and it can go whatever direction the person wants to go with it.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be having these conversations, buddy. To be honest with you, like I said, an Army guy, not known for being in touch with my feelings or anything like that. So this is pretty good. So, but so the photography stuff aside, so that's really, really successful on your part. And listen, buddy, like you really do some amazing stuff. And like I said, I've been a fan for a while. But then, the last flight calls as well. Like how's that going? Like we sort of kind of got into it a little bit before we hit the record button, but the calling industry in North America, and that's, I don't know if it happens anywhere outside of North America. Excuse me, but it seems like there's so much on the market right now, or I shouldn't say there's so much, that's the wrong way to say it. There's so much variety on the market right now for people to be able to find what works for them, because that's the most important thing when it comes to a call, right? Like it's what works for you is what you can make sound the best, right? So I guess what I'm getting at is, when you guys decided, what was there a conversation when you and Zach were talking and saying, what, do we want to start this? Is there already too much calls on the market? Did you have that conversation? And then if you did, why did you just, take the leap and go for it anyways?
We did not have that conversation because I didn't know what I was doing.
Right. Yeah, fair.
So this started December 2017, basically, is when this started, and just hand turning for a couple years.
Okay.
So we were selling 300 calls a year, basically hand turning like that. So we didn't really have a grasp of like what the market even is. You're only selling 3 a year, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like everything we made sold, so we just took it the next step, got some CNCs, and been doing that since. But yeah, we didn't really have, it is a flooded market. Anybody can go buy a $200, lathe and start making calls. I mean, it's not, I don't want to say it's not difficult, but like anybody, it's just very little startup. Anybody can just go do it.
Right.
And with social media too, everyone has a place to advertise and have a voice, basically. And 20 years ago, there's just like, when you sit and think of call makers now, you can probably rattle off 20, 30, 40 different people.
Yep.
Ago, how many was it? Half dozen?
Half dozen, yeah. That were well known. Yeah.
Well known, and it's just because people didn't know, like, and didn't have a voice and a place to do all of this. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it cost a lot of money back then to have a voice. You got to go make a DVD and spend all this time and money doing that versus
Absolutely.
me taking my iPhone that I'm already going to have on me and pay for already, whether I'm making calls or not. I go post up a video of me making a call, and now 2 people want to call, and I go do it again, and now 3 people want to call.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas, before 20 years ago, it was, you know how it was, the DVDs and
Yeah.
I watched it,
Waterfowl magazine. That was it, right?
magazines are big, and then like you had to go buy DVDs at Cabela's and go watch this movie on these guys hunting, and that was it.
Yeah, that's right.
I can just get on YouTube, watch it all day long.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point, and something that's never been brought, like we've talked about this sort of thing a number of times on the show, but we've never once, I don't think, talked about, the progression and how easy it was or how easy it is for someone that's interested in getting into the calling game, how easy it is to get started and to be able to promote your call, promote your brand. And listen, I know you said, and I said it too, that like there's a lot of call makers out there, right? Like we just seen John Stevens down in Stuttgart just do Callapalooza. We just, there's always a call, NWTF, which is huge, and there's so much on the go right now. And one could argue, well, the market is flooded. Well, the market's flooded, but people are still turning calls and they're still putting them out, and people are still buying them because there's now you have collectors. Now you have the one time a week hunters that because of work and family, they can't get out as much as they want. Then you got the diehards, and there's so many demographics within the calling world right now that there's something for everybody out there, and that got a lot to do with the explosion in number of call makers. Plus, I do think because my business partner Dave, who's working today, he couldn't come on, but there's some therapeutic value in turning wood too, right? Like it's a relaxing thing, and even if you don't make any money, it's good for your mental health and it's good for the soul to be out working with your hands and smelling sawdust.
Yeah. As far as the market, I think the only thing different nowadays than say a new guy starting out now versus 30 years ago is just you won't ever, in my opinion, you won't ever see a Zinc or an R&T or a company that big in the call world again, because like it's just too spread out.
Yep.
All the money's just too spread out. The majority, 90% of the market isn't buying from 6 people anymore.
That's right.
Everybody's buying from a couple hundred. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, on the therapeutic part, it's just cool being able to just turn something and seeing what comes out of that. Like you can't see the inside of what you're turning, shape it out and do it and whittle all that down, and you know what I'm saying? So it's just cool to something different each.
And when you guys started, and this is something I guess for anybody that's listening that's wondering if they should, get into the call making or if they want to even just try it, but I'm guessing that there were a lot of mistakes made in the beginning, right? Like trying to figure out your sound and to make sure that it because now you hear people saying that's a good looking call. Like you got to be different now. You can't have the same barrel shape. You got to do something different, right? So for anybody that's new, that's thinking about starting this, like you can't quit off the first blank that you break.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it took us, as far as sound, like for a duck call, I mean, it took us, probably a year and a half. And honestly, we're still changing stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
4 or 5 years, still changing stuff. But we started on like a public jig, which gets close. And we didn't buy our custom jig for like another year and a half later.
Yep.
Even from that jig, it's close to what we got now, but we've modified it since then. It's just kind of changing thing to just keep getting better and doing better. And producing something better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it just takes a lot of time and energy and learning, a lot of learning. And yeah, man, it's just, it definitely got put a lot of effort in at the beginning to get anywhere, but it's fun too at the same time.
No, absolutely. And we've talked about it on the show a bunch of times and stuff. And from the outside looking in, I think sometimes people can get like a false impression of how things go, right? So
Yep. Oh yeah.
For yourself, right? So you got the photography and the duck call, and people could look at your social media and say, man, he's living the life, right? Like
Right.
he's got it made, because social media, we can use social media to portray that. We can
Yep.
make everything look the way we want it to look, how it's perceived. And
Yep.
but yet you just touched on it, like for your duck call, a year and a half, and you're still not 100% where you want to be, right? And we've talked about this so much on this show with social media and this perception that everything's got to be perfect the first time out.
Yeah.
And that's so untrue. And I know there's a bunch of people that get it and they understand it and they know that it's not going to happen overnight for them. But there's still some people that get frustrated when it doesn't happen overnight. And that is where I think the social media sometimes sets false expectations.
That's the society now, is right now, instant. If I come online, I need it tomorrow. I'm with video. I'm on TikTok. I can't just watch a 10-minute video anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, definitely things have just changed a lot.
Yeah, no doubt.
Even
Matt, 7 years old, buddy. 7 years old, you started chasing this passion of ducks. Was it your dad that got you into it?
Yep, my dad, which he's part owner here too.
Oh, wicked.
My dad, and Zach, which is longtime family friend and hunting partner.
Mm-hmm.
We all just kind of do this together.
So now that I'm properly educated on where you're located within Ohio, refuges, small water, that sort of thing, and then big ag in your area, like
big
agriculture
in this area, but then it's there's no marshes, nothing like that.
Okay.
So if you're hunting water, it's a pond or a lake, but the lake literally, the water stops and the land starts. There's no marsh. You know what I mean?
Right.
Closest lake, public lakes that we hunt around here is Lake Larmy and up at Salina Lake when they have a refuge up there. And there'll be quite a few. There'll be a couple thousand birds hanging out there during peak migration. But they learn where they can and can't be shot.
Of course they do.
And they got food there on the refuge as well. They got cornfields, so they don't really.
Yeah.
And they also flooded corn on the refuge, so they don't really need to go anywhere. They do get into them and under them sometimes, but they're pretty safe, really.
Yeah.
But mostly around here, we're hunting. Probably 3/4 of the time we're hunting a field.
Okay.
And then probably 15% of the time probably hunting. The rest of the time we're either hunting public water or a creek, something like that. And honestly, until birds get here, we're kind of just milling around hunting creeks, trying to shoot a couple birds. So until like feeds start building up, like I don't really want to hunt a feed until I get 200 birds in it.
Yep.
And my thought process on that is there's 200 birds. Half of them either aren't going to like me or I'm going to screw them up. So I'm down to 100.
Yep.
And 100 birds. Hopefully they come in like 5 groups of 20, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I get 5 different times to shoot. Maybe we can shoot a limit. So I just don't really, if it's not 200, I just don't go hunt. I just kind of let it rest.
Yeah.
But when we get birds, I mean, you'll see that, we have plenty of fields that'll have a couple hundred, several hundred birds in it. We just like to mill around on creeks and water. which is typically, November through mid-December. We're doing that.
Okay.
We really don't have much migration action, like big numbers and birds wadding up and stuff till after Christmas, really.
Yeah. You talked about it at the beginning of the show, saying that, last year you didn't see the number of birds and migration. I have a theory, and this
Mhm.
is just a theory of Damian Pittman, but my theory is that the last 2 years, especially because I'm not really that far from you. I'm probably about, if I were to drive it, I could probably do it in under 10 hours, right? So
Yeah,
really
of
not that far.
northeast of Ontario, Lake Ontario.
Well, yeah, so I'm right on, like, I'm 45 minutes from upstate New York.
Yep.
So like the border is, just right there. I can see this, I can see New York
Yeah.
from
My
here.
parents live in Lee Center, which is just north of Rome,
Okay.
New York. So I've been through like Watertown and
Yeah,
all through
so
there.
Watertown, I think I'm about, I don't know, I'm probably about an hour away from Watertown. You know what
I've
I
got
mean? So I'm not that far.
yeah.
Um, but so my theory is that first, I think birds are moving further east from
Yeah.
the west, right? Because we're seeing weird birds every year now that we normally never ever seen in this area. Plus, I think that the migration is starting much later in the year, and they're skipping us. I think our birds in the last 2 years have just flown right over. They haven't even stopped. They're just like, no, we're just gonna keep on cooking, and heading south. And that is my theory on why because the last 2 years we haven't seen a big number of birds around here. Geese and numbers are still here because they're
Yeah.
they're just here. They
Right.
are blowing up. Like the
But,
population of geese is blowing up, but ducks, we're not seeing them.
so yeah, I could go a long ways on this one. I went
Do
up
it.
to Winus Point Hunt Club last year in October and photographed for Delta Waterfowl University Hunt
Yeah.
for High University, and they were doing a study on so like you have your West Coast mallards that are wild, and
Yeah.
your East not basically, and especially around the Great Lakes, they are interbreeding too much with domesticated birds,
Yeah.
and they're losing their instincts to migrate, and they're inefficient eaters.
Oh.
So they were doing studies on, and so they were measuring their legs, because like a domesticated mallard walks more, they have bigger
Yeah.
legs, bigger, and they're a bigger bird.
Yeah.
Weighing them, they're measuring their bills, how far they go up on their head, kind of like a
Huh.
goose will weigh up.
Yeah.
A wild mallard will just kind of stop,
Okay.
but birds are getting a real long bill and a short bill. So they say they're becoming inefficient eaters, and they're trying to migrate. When they finally figure out, oh, it's too cold, I need to migrate, I'm gonna die, it's too late. So they either just stay or die, basically,
Wow.
and they migrate, and then they don't have the ability to eat as much food efficiently to sustain the energy and stuff to migrate and survive the winter and all that. I don't know how much that plays a role in this whole thing, but like I thought that was pretty interesting
That
to
is
have.
really interesting.
They're all doing master's programs, and these are their thesis studies and things like that on this
Right.
stuff. So I learned a lot that trip.
No, that's awesome because I've never heard, like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
Yeah.
so here, like in this part, so we'll get a couple pushes of black ducks that'll come through, right?
Mm.
And there's a theory around here that there's no such thing as a black duck in Ontario because they're all half mallards, right? There's
Right.
no true black ducks around here.
Mm.
So I knew about the mallard population interbreeding, and I did hear somewhere that there is, domesticated and wild birds that are
Yep.
uh populating or producing more birds and stuff. But I didn't realize that it was to the extent that, Delta Waterfowl now as is studying it. And you know what? I bet you do have, like, if they're
Yeah.
losing their instinct to migrate,
Right.
then why would, because they're only, like, all they want to do is eat. That's it.
Walk around and eat. They don't know anything else.
Yeah. So if there's a constant food supply around for them, why would they need to leave? Now, up here, and same with you, like, it can get bitter cold in the wintertime. So yeah, that could be that's a huge, I think that's a huge problem, dude.
These bird farms on the East Coast. So you don't have this on the West side of So like these bird farms of these tamed mallards, farm ducks that the CEO of whatever big company goes and just spends, several $1,000s and just goes sit in a blind and they release the ducks.
Yep.
And I've heard stories of them outfitters, whatever you want to call them, then getting in their boats and then stirring them up on the pond because they all just went and sat in the middle of the pond.
Yep.
And you know what I mean? But then eventually all these birds just fly off into the wild. And right now, from my understanding and what I've learned, is there's really an unknown number of how much of this is going on. So they really but there are dozens and dozens of these places. So, but they don't know what the number is on domesticated birds being released each year into the wild, basically.
Wow.
So, they wanted to call these places and be like, hey, how many birds you're releasing? And I don't really regulations on how they have to track that for like the state DNR or the feds or however that works.
Right.
I would something of like, hey, we released 2,000 mallards this year over the course of 2 months. I don't know how that works. They want to start like getting a hold of these places and asking them, but eventually they're just going to stop answering the phone once they figure out what's going on, because they're going to shut down their business essentially.
Absolutely.
Too. So there's that as well.
And so when you're talking these tame mallards, like with this avian flu threat that's in North America right now, like I would suspect that, the on both sides of the border, because I know in Canada they shut down. I don't know how familiar you are with our side of Lake Erie, but we have Long Point, which is so they've had, every year they have feed stations there. But last year there was no feed stations at Long Point, right? Because of the avian flu, and they're trying to not have birds congregate together and all that stuff. So when you're talking about these tame ducks, like, I would assume, just like you, that the government would want to know, listen, how many birds are you holding? Because it could decimate the poultry industry in the US and in Canada if this isn't regulated, right?
Yeah, I don't really know I don't know anything about this stuff. I'm just literally saying what
Yeah, I hear you. I'm the same way. I
very well could be reporting all this stuff. I don't know how that works, but just going off of what students and people at Delta and stuff like that when I was up there.
Well, I know my dog spends some time, I won't say which state, but my dog spends some time down south each winter doing some training, and they do tower shoots down there. So she'll get it. So she's training, Monday to Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday, if there's a tower shoot, well, she'll get invited to come and retrieve birds and I've been told, it's exactly it. They're released from the tower, bang, 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 dead bird. But then the birds that didn't get shot, like, they're just walking around, and a friend of mine sent pictures of my dog. Like, she's just sitting there, and there's just literally mallards just walking all around her. And then, someone will go scoot them all up, and then they'll shoot them again. And it's wild. So, and that's just one spot, right? So you safe to assume this happens, especially with these duck clubs, right? Like that, it's happening a lot. So I would think that the feds are probably monitoring this. I would think so.
Then I want to go back to the migration thing. Like, I
Yeah.
feel west of the Mississippi, you see mallards with really not a lot of weather move all the way to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Versus, say on the East Coast, I feel like it's hard to get them to the Carolinas now.
Yeah.
Or even to us sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just feel like we're here. Well, Oklahoma's here. Yeah. The West Coast birds are, and Central Flyway birds are moving.
Yeah.
Ours just kind of hanging out.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just my own study.
Yeah. No, but well, the important thing is that and you know it as well as I do, even talking to those people that are doing their master's degree, like all those like they'll still come to a hunter and ask, okay, what are you seeing? Because we're the ones that are out there every day, and we notice the patterns more so than anybody, right? We give them the little, hey, listen, something's wonky, something's weird going on, and then that's when they get going, oh, I wonder what's causing this, and they get their creative juices and knowledge and stuff going. So yeah, it's good points, because it's what you notice, and it's what you notice for your geographical area. What you're saying may not fit everywhere else in the state, even in the state of Ohio. But it's what's happening in your area. And the same with me when I say this is my theory on birds skipping us. That's exactly, and I'm sure there's people listening that's in Ontario right now are saying Damien's right out of it. He has no idea what he's talking about. But again, it's just what I think. And I really don't care if you don't agree with it.
Right.
Like, really, I don't. It's just, that's just my thoughts, really, is all it is.
For sure.
So now, going back to, let's still stay on this topic of the birds, and maybe you're seeing a different number of birds, and maybe migration has changed and stuff like that. But in your experience now traveling around and hunting, especially in your area, are you hearing fellas, like even you and Zach, but even some of your friends that you meet on the road and when you're out scouting, like, are you hearing anybody having to change their approach and how they're getting them? Like, I know you say, like, you won't even go in unless there's 200 birds in the field, but like, are you hearing other fellas saying things like, listen, I unless it's this now, I'm not even going in?
Not really. I had a thought here and I'm losing it. Not really. Just, with like my time now, I got 2 kids under 2 now. So
oh, you're busy.
So I'm doing calls like November through January. It's just hunting, just thrown on you.
Yeah.
Which is my job. It's my hobby. It's everything. So it's just like going on at once, to where if I'm going to leave the house and be gone for half a day, then, it's always worth it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd rather let a field with 100 birds build up to 200, versus going in there and blowing it out and maybe, shooting a handful. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
For like my time and stuff like that, because I can't hunt every day.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say worth it, because it's always worth it. Like, you get to go out, get out of the house and do this and that, but I'm not just going to blindlessly go out and set up decoys and lay out there all day.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to hunt a feed if I can. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm going to out and try to hunt a feed if I can and stuff like that. Just kind of like Kyle talked about, the intensity of not necessarily like the intensity of like doing it right. We're out here for a reason versus just, I could have scouted more, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just drove 4 hours and wasted, 2 days doing this. Like, thanks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get it.
We all appreciate it and stuff like that, but it's just hard, when you got kids and wife and stuff like that, to just leave and be gone for a day or 2 or a week or whatever it is,
Yeah, no, and that's a reality that, again, social media sometimes doesn't allow us to portray the fact that hey, listen, I'm not out chasing every single day. I can't
Right.
because I have other responsibilities.
A lot
But
of
when
people,
I'm yeah, but when I'm out, I make the most out of it, right? So
right.
that intensity, like you brought up, that Kyle Jones brought up on the last episode, like, listen, and you and Kyle and all these guys that are within the industry, yeah, it's your job. Everything surrounding waterfowl is your job, and your time is precious. You've got young families, you've got responsibilities, all that stuff. So when you go out, some people could call it an intensity, and some people could say, well, he's a bit of a hard ass way he wants to hunt and stuff like that. But
Right.
when it
They do.
comes down, to it, you've only got X number of hours within a week to do some hunting. So if you're going to go, you're going to go and you're going to do it right
Right.
to make sure that you have the most success that you can, because you can't just go out whenever it is that you want.
I've been doing this since I was 7.
Yeah.
I'm killing a bird and doing all that. But, my goal every time I go out is to shoot a limit.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm going to go out. Yeah, I'm hanging out with my buddies, this and that. But, I want to go shoot a limit if we can.
Of course.
But the way you get to that limit, I think, is a lot and is everything. Goose meat is not that great tasting. And
Nope.
cleaning birds is fun. So if I'm not gonna go sky bust a goose at 50, 60 yards. Like, I want them feet down inside of 20 if I can, as close as
Absolutely.
I'm pulling the trigger. And that's everything to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just the game within the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it's not just, I don't want to go out and shoot birds at 50 yards all day. I don't like to eat geese that much to do that.
Yeah.
I love waterfowl and hunting them and stuff like that, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, goose just ain't that great.
No, I agree with you.
Like, when I go out, like, I want them at 20 feet down, landing if I can land, do it that way. You know what I mean? Just,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like a level up in the game. Cause I feel like as you go along, you check the boxes, and now you're at the point of, like, can I call them in? Can I do this? Can I get them at 10 yards? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I get you, buddy.
Just a whole nother level of the competition. You know what I mean? Because it's a competitive thing, and just another, I don't know. It's just, that's what the goal is, to see how far I can push that envelope.
Yeah, and that's I think, if you remember Kyle talking about it, right? And Ryan, another buddy that's been on the show, he said it, like, this maturation of a waterfowl hunter, right? Because listen, you and I are not here to tell anybody that what they're doing or how they're doing their hunting is wrong, because that's not my goal. I'll never tell you that what you're doing is wrong. If you're out and you're having fun, go for it.
It's a matter of what's fun for you now. Like,
absolutely.
Anything in life, like, things change, things become fun. You lose interest in other things, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? 30 years ago, if I got out and I got at 50 yards, I seen a teal screaming by, I was taking a shot at it. Now today, yeah, I'm not doing that unless I know for sure I'm gonna get that bird. Yep. I'm probably not even and there's a number of times when I'm hunting with people and they're like, you didn't even shoulder your gun. I was like, man, there's no way I'm making that shot. Like, I don't even need to shoulder my gun to know that I'm not going to make that shot. So, so again, you and I aren't here to say what we do is the best way of doing it. It's just, that's what works for us. And that's what, makes us happy and all that stuff. So as long as you're going out, as long as you're getting out and you're doing it and you're having fun, then go. And as long as you're ethical and you're staying within the rules. But you know what I mean? I totally get you, buddy. Like, I do. I'm going to switch this, and for people that know me know that this must be a big deal for me to even admit this, but I'm going to switch this year and start focusing on geese. And I've never done that before in my life because I've always been just a duck guy. Like hunting greenheads is the most magical, fun thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting the numbers anymore. So we don't get our big put, like we don't see our numbers of mallards until Christmas time. Like second week of December, into the first week of January. That's it. And then the first week of the second week of January, we're done, right? Our season's over. So I've got 3 months of really no action when it comes to ducks around here. So I'm gonna have to switch to geese. And for my friends and family that are listening, if this switch is successful, you could expect goose pepperettes for Christmas because I'm hoping that I got lots of it.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Like around here, we usually can shoot plenty of geese, so we're more like if we can shoot ducks, like let's go shoot some ducks.
Yeah. And we're the same way. Like there's 100, like our population of geese is very, very healthy. Actually, I think it may even be teetering on the point of becoming a nuisance animal around here, or a nuisance bird. It's not an animal.
We got plenty of locals, but I mean, the geese still migrate here, but it's just last year was not a lot.
Right.
Yeah, we did shoot a band we shoot it from Nunavut. Where was that band from? I think it was Nunavut. So
really?
Here, somewhere in Ontario. If we shoot a band here, it's from an hour north at the Refuge, Carolina, or it's from Nunavut.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Basically.
James Bay. Yeah, they did James up in the James Bay area. Yeah, it's crazy.
Usually where
they're yeah, they do a bunch up there. I tell you, the best one I seen was Jeff Coates from Maryland. He was hunting Prince Edward Island up here last fall. They shot a goose banded in Copenhagen, which is insane. Insane to think that bird came all the way across the Atlantic, all the way from Germany, like
up
crazy.
And then back.
Yeah.
They have to go down, I imagine, not all the way across, but I'm not a bird, but I've also seen those GPS packs where I seen one of a teal start in North Dakota, fly through the tip of Florida, Jamaica, and end up in South.
Wow.
I've seen that. So I don't know. They cover some water, I guess, too.
Yeah, they do. That's for sure. Matt, buddy, we're getting close to that hour mark.
Sure.
And I think that's a good episode. But again, like I keep saying, we could keep going forever. And so this just means you guys got to come back on again sometime. So we can keep this chat going. And one of these days, and I keep saying it, I'm gonna hit Ohio and I'm gonna do some hunting down there. And I'd love to actually meet up with you and do a hunt, buddy, and show off just how poor a shot I am.
Right. That's why you camera now, because I can't.
Maybe that's what I should do. I should start taking photos, and then I can get the fellas off my back on missing birds. That's awesome. Matt, buddy, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day. Especially we're doing this one. Normally we do them in the evenings, but you're so busy, and then you still manage to carve an hour out of your day to sit down and chat with me. I really appreciate it, dude. I really, really do. And I hope that you'll come back on again. So last word to you, man.
Yep, I'll definitely be back on whenever you have me. And I just appreciate you having me on here and could talk a little bit about myself and other stuff. It's fun.
Awesome. And you don't need an invite, buddy. If you and Zach and your dad, you ever have anything if you think our platform can help you, reach out, dude, and we'll get you on for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Union 0430, episode 149. As always, we'll never pretend to be someone we're not, just a group of dudes that love hanging out and chatting about bird hunting. Don't be a douchebag to one another. Big love. Until next time.